Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jag, and in today's class we are going to continue with our grade 10 math content, and what I want to cover today is common factoring part 2. Okay, so what we're going to try today are some of the more harder questions from the textbook, and if you're not sure how to do the common factoring, make sure you're checking out my previous video where we actually just tackled some very simple problems. Okay, so with that, let's get started. And what we're gonna do is start off with this question. Okay, so let me pick some questions from the textbook here. Okay, and I'm going to write it really big so it's visible to everybody. So let's try 14x squared y, okay, plus 16, okay, xy to the power of 3. So say this is a question now, okay? We're looking for a common factor. So first, I always look at the two numbers. I see 14 and 16 are both even numbers. I know I can take out 2, so I'm going to take out the 2. Okay? Now look very carefully at the x's. I see both of these terms have an x, okay? This is x2 here. When there's nothing there, it's x1. And as a general rule, you're always taking out the variable that contains the smallest exponent. So I'm going to take out the x1. Okay, then we're going to go to the y exponent. This is y1. And the next one is y to the power of 3. I'm going to take out y to the power of 1. Then I'm going to open up my brackets, okay? We're looking at the first term. For the numbers, I'm just going to divide it. So I'm going to do 14 divided by 2, which is 7. And the exponents, I'm going to subtract them because I'm dividing here. So this is x2 minus x1, which is still x to the power of 1. Okay? And for the y, I could do y1 minus y1, which is 0, so the y is gone. We're going to move to the next term. Okay, I'm going to do 16 divided by 2, so 8. Okay, look at the x exponents here. They both are 1, so it's 1 minus 1, 0. X is gone. If you look at the y exponents, I'm doing y to the 3 minus y to the 1, so y to the power of 2. Okay? Now again, I'm just putting the exponent ones here. I don't actually have to put it, so let's take it out from our final answer. Okay, so this is basically the final answer, which is factored, okay? As you're doing the questions in the textbook, you might notice some of the questions say factor if fully if possible. And that means if you can't find a common factor, it's just not possible. So you could just write not possible, okay? So with that, let's try another question here, okay? So I'm going to take this off. Okay, we're going to try a few of like the harder questions from the textbook here. Again, make sure you are tackling those hard questions. And if you can do all of the hard ones, again, the teacher cannot throw any question your way that you won't know how to do. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. So 10k to the 3 and m is to the 2, okay, minus 6k squared and m squared as well, okay? So, alright, so we're going to look at both of these numbers again. I'm going to take out a common factor as a number first. They both are even, so I'm going to take out the 2, okay? So take a look at the k's here. I want to take out the smallest exponent, okay? This is k3, k2. I'm taking out the k2. Does everyone see that? Okay? Then you look at the m, okay? So I'm just double checking. Yeah, they both are m squared here. So I can take out the m squared. I'm going to open up my bracket. You look at both of the terms, and I'm always just dividing the numbers, okay? So in this one, I'm just going to underline it. I'm doing 10 divided by 2, so 5. And I'm going to subtract these exponents, okay? So k3 minus k2, so k to the power of 1. We're not going to put the 1 here, okay? So just so you get used to not writing it. Keep the sign the same, minus. We're going to do 6, all right? Divided by 2, which is 3. If you're looking at the k variable here, k2 minus k2 is 0. It's gone, okay? And I'm looking at m2 minus m2, 0, so it's gone. And so basically what's left from the second term is just the 3, okay? So this is my final answer. It's 2k squared m squared, and then bracket 5k minus 3, okay? Are there any questions here? Okay, and a good way to check to see if you have the right answer is when you look inside the bracket, there shouldn't be anything else that is common between the two terms. And I can see that that is the case here. Both 5 and 3 are prime numbers. They can only be divided by 1 and by itself. Okay, the first term has a k, and the second term doesn't have a k. Okay, so I can see that this is the factored form in the most simplest reduced form as well. Alright, so with that, we're going to try one more example here, okay? I'm just looking at the ones that are a bit harder. Alright, so let's try this one first. So I'm just going to skip down, okay? So I'm just picking some of the questions from the textbook. So let's try f. So 5fg squared, okay? Minus 25fg, okay? And there's 3 terms here, okay? So plus 20 f squared g, okay? So again, even if I see 3 terms or 4 terms, it does not matter, okay? That doesn't mean the question is harder because I'm using the same steps here, okay? And usually when there are 3 terms, I know that it's going to be a common factoring method, okay? As you go through the units, there are a lot of different methods of factoring. This is the common factoring, okay? Where you're just taking out a common factor between all 3 terms here, all right? So let's take a look at it really closely, okay? We're looking at just the numbers first, okay? So I see 5, 25, and 20. So a common factor between all of these 3 terms is 5. So I'm going to take the 5 out. So you have to just be careful when the variables don't have an exponent on top. Just assume it's 1, okay? So this is f1, f1, and f2. I'm just going to take out the f1, or just the f, okay? I'm looking at the g term here. Okay, I'm just going to double check, make sure it's right. So this is g squared, g1, and g to the power of 1. So we can only take out the g to the power of 1. I always write, open up the brackets like that first, okay? So I can make sure I'm getting the right answer. So let's look at this first term here. I took the 5 outside, okay? And then if you look at the f, it's going to be 1 minus 1. The f is gone, okay? If you look at the g, okay, the g is going to be 2 minus 1. So there's 1 g left still. Everyone see that? So we're going to go through it really slowly, okay? We're moving to the next term. So if there's a minus here, just keep the signs the same, okay? I'm going to divide these numbers. So I'm doing 25 divided by 5, which is 5. Okay? And if you just look closely here, I noticed the second term has fg. And I took the fg outside the brackets, okay? So it's already gone. We're going to go to the next term. And you're going to do 20 divided by 5, which is 4. Okay? If you look at the f variable, it's going to be 2, the exponent, minus 1. So f to the power of 1, okay? And if you look at the g cancels out because it's just 1 minus 1, which is equal to 0, okay? So I can see that this is my final answer. Again, if you're just checking your answer, okay, I can just do the distributive property one more time with my answer, okay? And remember, when you do the distributive property with the exponents, I need to add the exponents because I'm multiplying here, okay? Let's try for this one. So this is 5 fg times g. So 5 fg squared. Then I'm going to do the first term times the second term, okay? So 5fg times negative 5, okay? So 5 times 5, 25fg. Plus, and then I'm going to do 5fg, okay? Times the 4f. So I'm doing 5 times 4, so 20. I see there are 2 f's here, f and f squared, g. Okay? And so I'm just doing the distributive property here, and I should notice that this is giving me my same answer that I started off with. So this is actually a really good check, okay? You just need to do the distributive property, add the exponents together, make sure it's equal to the original equation, all right? If it's not equal, then your answer is wrong. Make sure you just go back and check the exponents, okay? Because that's the main part that most students have trouble with, okay? Yeah, so that's all you need to do for this question here, okay? So with that, let's try this last question, okay? In the textbook, this is for H. Okay, and I'm picking this question because I can see that the exponents are actually different here, okay? So let's try this. So 4n squared okay, p cubed, and it's 10n to the 4 p squared minus 12n to the 3 and p squared. Okay, so let's try this question here. And I like this question because the exponents are different, okay? All the exponents are not just 1, okay? So that way, the teacher will most likely give you a question like this, okay, on a quiz or test. It's not going to be like really simple questions and it's all laid back. If you're taking grade 10 academic math, okay, this is the question that you'll most likely see, okay, on your test. So let's try tackling this. There are 3 terms, okay? Remember, when it's 3 terms, this is called a trinomial. Okay, I'm taking out a common factor. I'm looking at 4, 10, and 12. I can take out the 2, okay? So remember, when they're all even numbers, okay, 2 is basically going to be the most common factor I can take out. Now I'm going to look at all of the n variables here. I see in the first term, it's n squared. Then it's n to the power of 4, n to the power of 3. I'm taking out the smallest exponents, so I'm going to take out n squared. Everyone sees that? Okay? So I'm looking at p now. Look at each of the p's in each of the terms. I have p to the power of 3, p squared, and p squared. I can only take out p squared. And then open up your brackets one more time here. Okay, I'm going to divide these numbers. Let's underline it. So 4 divided by 2, which is 2. Okay? And then you're looking at the exponents one more time, okay, for the variables. I'm doing n squared minus n squared. It's gone. It's 0. Okay, for the p to the power of 3 minus p to the power of 2 is p to the power of 1. Okay, and I'm going to keep that the same. Don't write the exponent for 1 here, okay? Let's move to the next one. I'm looking at 10. So 10 divided by 2, which is 5. Okay, I'm going to subtract the exponents. So n to the power of 4 minus n to the power of 2. So this is also n squared. All right. And the last one is p squared minus p squared. It is gone, okay? And it's 0. That doesn't mean it's 1, okay? It's just 0. And then I'm just going to open this up here, okay? Let's try the third term. I'm going to do 12, okay, divided by 2, which is 6. Again, subtract the n exponents. N to the 3 minus n to the 2 is n to the power of 1, okay? And then you do the same thing with the p here. I'm going to do p squared minus p squared is 0, and it's gone. Okay, so this is basically going to be my final answer. Again, make sure at the very end, you're just checking inside the brackets. Make sure there are no common factors, okay? So if you don't see any common factors, then I know that this is the correct answer because I can't simplify it anymore, okay? However, if you do see some common factors in the brackets, try to take out those common factors again within the next step. And the teacher won't take off marks for that, okay? The teacher wants to just see that this is your final answer, okay? And again, when you're checking, that's the first check actually. I would make sure I'm checking the brackets for no common factors. And the second check is you doing the distributive property and then add the exponents together. And you should end up with the original expression that you started off with, okay? And if you don't, again, just go back and check the exponents, all right? So that looks good. So if there are no questions, that brings this video to an end. Again, we covered grade 10 math today. This was common factoring part 2. And again, if you have any questions, you can feel free to contact me. My email is jaggy5patel@gmail.com. I hope everyone did enjoy this content. And if you did, please make sure you're subscribing to the channel and click on the like button below. And I will see everyone in the next video. Thanks. Bye.